Have you ever wondered what it would take for humanity to willingly surrender its soul? Imagine a timeline stretching from the very dawn of human existence, from the first breath drawn by Adam, all the way to the final terrifying moments before the hour. Across this vast expanse of time, humanity has endured catastrophic floods, world-shattering wars, the rise and fall of tyrannical empires, and the brutal reigns of pharaohs who claim to be gods. The earth has been drenched in the blood of the innocent, and nations have crumbled into dust. Yet the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, issued a warning so chilling that it echoes through the centuries, piercing the veil of our modern complacency. He declared that among all the terrors, all the bloodshed, and all the tyrants that have ever existed, there is no trial, no tribulation greater than the trial of the Dajjal. This is not merely a tale of a monstrous figure appearing at the end of time. It is the story of a highly sophisticated, deeply psychological, and terrifyingly real deception. Welcome to Divine Sagas. If you are seeking the truth behind the veils of this world, if you wish to understand the unseen forces shaping our reality, you are exactly where you need to be. Prepare your heart, for what you are about to hear is not a myth. It is the greatest warning ever given to mankind. To understand the sheer magnitude of this threat, we must journey back over 1400 years to a gathering in the city of Medina. The prophet gathered his companions not to offer a vague prophecy, but to share a first-hand, terrifying eyewitness account. He did not tell the story himself. Rather, he gave the floor to Tamim al-Dari, a Christian man who had recently embraced Islam, a man known for his unwavering honesty. What Tamim revealed that day left the companions in a state of absolute shock. Their faces paled, their hands trembled, and the atmosphere in the room grew heavy with dread. Tamim recounted a harrowing journey at sea. He and his crew were caught in a violent, merciless storm. For nearly a month, the raging ocean tossed their vessel like a fragile toy until they were finally cast upon the shores of an uncharted, mysterious island. Exhausted and desperate, they stepped onto the foreign land, entirely unaware that they were stepping into the epicenter of the world's darkest secret. As they explored the misty terrain, they were suddenly confronted by a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. It was a massive, terrifying beast, so entirely covered in thick, coarse hair that they could not distinguish its front from its back. Terrified, they asked the creature what it was. The beast spoke, declaring its name to be Al-Jassasa, a title that implies a spy, a watcher, a gatherer of secrets. It did not harm them, but pointed them toward an ancient, foreboding monastery in the distance, telling them that inside awaited a man who was exceedingly eager to hear news of the outside world. Driven by a mixture of fear and irresistible curiosity, Tamim and his companions entered the dark, echoing halls of the monastery. There, in the shadows, they saw a sight that would haunt human history forever. Bound by massive, unbreakable chains was a man of colossal stature. His hands were shackled tightly to his neck, and thick iron rings bound his legs from the knees to the ankles. He was a large man with reddish skin and thick, tightly curled hair. His face was a canvas of terror. One of his eyes was completely blind, resembling a bulging, swollen grape covered by a thick piece of flesh. His other eye, however, was unnaturally bright, burning with an intense, piercing light. This chained giant did not ask for his freedom. Instead, he bombarded the terrified sailors with highly specific geopolitical and environmental questions. He asked about the date palm gardens in ancient Palestine. He demanded to know the water levels of the Sea of Galilee, known as Lake Tiberias. And most importantly, he asked if the unlettered prophet had finally appeared among the Arabs. Depending on the answers Tamim provided, the giant either nodded with sinister satisfaction or grew visibly tense with frustration. Finally, as the interrogation concluded, the chained man revealed his true identity. He declared with chilling certainty that he was the false Messiah, the Dajjal. When Tamim finished recounting this terrifying encounter to the companions in Medina, the prophet stood up. He did not dismiss it as a hallucination or a sailor's myth. He slammed his staff onto the ground, and emphatically confirmed Tamim's story, verifying that the Dajjal was indeed a living reality, confined to an unknown island, waiting for the divine decree to be released upon the world. But what if I told you that the physical appearance of the Dajjal is not the most dangerous thing about him? Would you recognize the truth when deception looks exactly like reality? The true horror of the Dajjal lies in his unprecedented ability to manipulate reality, to twist perception, and to make the impossible appear right before our eyes. He will not conquer the world solely through military might or brutal force. He will conquer it through an unparalleled campaign of psychological and spiritual seduction. He will step into a world that is broken, starving, and desperate, and he will offer exactly what humanity craves. He will command the skies, and rain will fall upon barren lands. He will command the earth, and it will bring forth lush, green vegetation. To a starving mother, he will offer limitless bread. To a thirsty child, he will offer pure water. He will bring wealth and abundance to those who bow to him, while bringing sudden, devastating ruin to those who reject his claims. He will present himself not just as a king, but as a god, and millions will believe him. Have you ever asked yourself how ordinary, rational people could ever believe that a human being is the Lord of the heavens and the earth? The answer lies in the deeply disturbing use of dark metaphysical forces, specifically the unseen world of the jinn. Islamic theology makes it abundantly clear that life and death are strictly in the hands of Allah. The Dajjal cannot truly grant life. However, he will utilize the most advanced forms of demonic illusion ever permitted on earth. Imagine standing in a crowd, your heart aching for a parent or a child you buried years ago. The Dajjal looks at you and asks, "If I bring your loved one back to life, will you believe that I am your Lord?" In your desperation, you nod. Suddenly, right before your eyes, the exact likeness of your deceased loved one appears. They have the same voice, the same smile, the same mannerisms. They walk up to you, embrace you, and whisper in your ear, urging you to follow this man, claiming he is indeed the true creator. How many people, blinded by grief and stripped of spiritual knowledge, would instantly fall to their knees and worship him? This is the ultimate weapon of the Dajjal. He targets human vulnerability, weaponizing our love, our grief, and our fear of death. What people will be witnessing is not a resurrection, but a shape-shifting jinn, a demonic entity playing the role of the deceased to steal the faith of the living. It is a psychological manipulation so profound that the Prophet warned it would cause even the most devout believers to doubt their own sanity. Yet, this grand deception does not happen overnight. The Dajjal is not merely an individual. Dajjaliyyah is an entire system, an ideology, a carefully constructed matrix designed over centuries to prepare the human mind for his arrival. Think deeply about the world you live in right now. Does it not feel as though an invisible hand is constantly pulling the strings of society, gradually numbing our hearts to the divine? For centuries, various esoteric groups, secret societies, and shadow organizations have operated behind the curtains of history. From the ancient mysteries of Babylon to the esoteric rituals of the Knights Templar, and from the shadowy halls of modern Freemasonry to the elusive concept of the Illuminati, the core philosophy remains strikingly similar. It is a philosophy that seeks to remove God from the center of human existence, replacing divine revelation with pure materialism, human ego, and occult symbolism. You do not need to believe in grand conspiracy theories to see the undeniable reality of this systemic conditioning. Look at the modern media landscape. Look at the music industry, the fashion world, and the entertainment we consume daily. Why is the symbolism of the one eye so prevalent? Why are inverted crosses, demonic imagery, and occult rituals openly paraded on the world's biggest stages, disguised as mere artistic expression? When a symbol is repeated enough times, it bypasses our critical thinking. First, it becomes familiar, then it becomes ordinary. Finally, it becomes culturally accepted, completely escaping any moral questioning. This system of Dajjaliyyah actively wages war against the foundations of human stability. It systematically denies the necessity of religion, portraying faith as a primitive, outdated concept holding back human progress. It attacks the very fabric of morality, promoting an absolute, boundless interpretation of sexuality that destroys the sanctity of the family. The family unit is the primary fortress of faith. When the family is broken, the individual is left isolated, confused, and vulnerable to external programming. Today, we see an entire generation plunged into a severe crisis of identity. Children are bombarded with content that blurs the lines of reality, gender, and morality. We are living in an era where humanity has access to more information than at any other point in history. Yet we have never been more profoundly ignorant of spiritual truths. Our smartphones and screens have become digital shackles. The continuous dopamine loops of social media, the endless scrolling, the constant need for digital validation, all of these conscious engineering decisions have created a society with shattered attention spans and deep internal loneliness. People are connected globally, yet they sit in dark rooms feeling entirely empty. They are subconsciously yearning for a savior to fill that gaping spiritual void in their chests. Hollywood and global media have spent decades programming the human mind with the narrative of a flawed but powerful superhero who arrives to save a dystopian world. When the Dajjal finally steps onto the global stage, performing technological and metaphysical wonders, he will not seem alien to the masses. He will feel incredibly familiar. They have been waiting for him their entire lives without even realizing it. The transition into this final nightmare will be marked by a period of agonizing physical suffering. The prophet foretold that the 3 years immediately preceding the emergence of the Dajjal will be years of unparalleled global famine. It will be a cosmic countdown orchestrated by the heavens. In the first year, the sky will withhold 1/3 of its rain, and the earth will hold back 1/3 of its harvest. In the second year, the sky will withhold 2/3 of its rain, and the earth will refuse 2/3 of its crops. By the third year, not a single drop of water will fall from the heavens, and the earth will become a barren, cracked wasteland, yielding absolutely nothing. Imagine the sheer panic of a modern world, entirely dependent on fragile supply chains, suddenly plunged into absolute starvation. The global economy will collapse. Wars over water and basic resources will ignite across continents. Humanity will be reduced to a state of primal desperation. It is precisely in this atmosphere of suffocating despair that the Dajjal will be released from his unseen chains. He will not emerge from the west. Prophetic traditions pinpoint his arrival from the east, from the region of Khorasan, emerging from the ancient city of Isfahan. He will be followed initially by 70,000 individuals, draped in distinctive garments, welcoming him with absolute fervor. From there, he will move across the globe with terrifying speed. The prophet described his movement as being like a rain cloud driven by a fierce wind. He will travel the earth, leaving almost no city untouched, bending nations to his will. The world will be sharply divided into 2 camps. There will be no middle ground, no neutral territory. You will either possess the spiritual clarity to see through his illusions, or you will fall to your knees and accept his mark. The prophet vividly described that the Dajjal will have with him 2 rivers, one that appears to be blazing fire and another that appears to be cool, refreshing water. But in the inverted reality of Dajjaliyyah, truth is falsehood, and falsehood is truth. The prophet issued a desperate command to the believers: if you find yourself facing this monster, close your eyes, lower your head, and drink from the river that looks like fire, for it is actually cool, sweet water. And avoid the river that looks like water, for it is the fire of destruction. He will even have the word kafir, meaning disbeliever, written explicitly across his forehead. Every true believer, whether they are highly educated or entirely illiterate, will be able to read it through the light of their faith. But those whose hearts have been corrupted by the love of this world, who have traded their souls for digital illusions and material comfort, will be entirely blind to this glaring warning. As the Dajjal marches toward the Middle East, the geopolitical landscape will be in utter turmoil. The region we know today as Syria, Palestine, and the surrounding lands will be engulfed in the flames of the Great War, known as Al-Malhama al-Kubra. Different faiths hold vastly different expectations of this climatic era. In Christian theology, the Antichrist is expected to rise and deceive the world before being defeated by the return of Jesus. However, there are factions within modern Christianity that actively support the geopolitical conflicts in the Middle East, believing that accelerating these wars will hasten the return of their Savior. In Judaism, there is the deeply held expectation of a conquering Messiah who will rebuild the Temple of Solomon and establish a global dominion from Jerusalem. This expectation aligns terrifyingly well with the actions of the Dajjal, who will eventually position himself in Jerusalem, declaring himself God in the holy sanctuary. It is here that the intricate deceptive web of the end times reaches its absolute peak. The Dajjal will use the genuine religious expectations of different groups to cement his absolute authority. Just when it seems that the light of faith is about to be entirely extinguished, just when the believers are cornered, starving, and surrounded by the armies of deception, the sky will break open. In the eastern part of Damascus, by a white minaret, an event of breathtaking majesty will occur. Descending from the heavens, his hands resting gently on the wings of two magnificent angels, will be the true Messiah. He will wear two lightly dyed garments, and his presence will radiate a purity that defies the darkness of the world. When he lowers his head, drops of water will fall from it, and when he raises it, the drops will scatter like luminous pearls. This is Isa, the son of Maryam, Jesus, peace be upon him. He will not descend with a new religion. He will not descend as a god to be worshipped. He will return as the noble servant and prophet of Allah, descending to destroy the colossal lie that the Dajjal has constructed. The mere scent of the breath of Isa will be lethal to the disbelievers, reaching as far as his eyes can see. Upon his arrival, the true believers will feel an overwhelming surge of hope. Isa will join the ranks of the righteous Muslims, demonstrating ultimate humility by refusing to lead the prayer, opting instead to pray behind the righteous leader of the believers, the Mahdi. Once the prayer concludes, the final hunt will begin. Isa will set out to confront the ultimate deceiver. The Dajjal, who had commanded the elements, raised the dead, and terrorized the globe, will suddenly feel an inexplicable, overwhelming terror. He will flee toward the city of Lud in present-day Palestine. But there is no escape from divine justice. When the Dajjal finally locks eyes with Isa at the gate of Lud, the facade of his godhood will violently shatter. The prophet described that upon seeing the true Messiah, the Dajjal will begin to dissolve, melting away just as salt dissolves in water. But Isa will not merely let him fade into nothingness. He will strike him down, putting an absolute, humiliating end to the greatest source of evil humanity has ever known. The cross will be broken, the false narratives will be destroyed, and the truth will finally stand unopposed. Following this monumental victory, the world will enter a profound period of peace and justice under the rule of Isa, though it will eventually be interrupted by the terrifying release of Gog and Magog. Yet, the death of the Dajjal marks the ultimate triumph of faith over illusion. It is the definitive proof that no matter how sophisticated a system of deception becomes, no matter how much technology, media, and psychological warfare are used to bury the truth, the light of Allah cannot be extinguished. What shield do we hold when the skies them seem to lie and the earth brings forth illusions? The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, did not leave us defenseless in the face of this impending storm. He provided us with a spiritual fortress, a divine sanctuary against the mind-altering magic of the Dajjaliyyah system. He emphatically instructed his followers to memorize and recite the first and last 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf. Why this specific chapter? Because Surah Al-Kahf teaches us how to disconnect from a corrupted society, how to seek refuge in the cave of faith when the entire world has lost its mind. It teaches us that true reality is rarely what appears on the surface. Furthermore, he taught us to seek refuge in Allah from the trials of the Dajjal in the final moments of every single prayer before uttering the words of peace. This is not just a ritual, it is a daily conscious uncoupling from the matrix of materialism. We are living in an era where the system of the Dajjal is operating at full capacity. Our families are under attack, our moral compasses are being shattered, and our spiritual awareness is constantly hijacked by glowing screens. The greatest tragedy is not that the Dajjal will arrive with fire and water. The greatest tragedy is that when he arrives, he will find a generation that has already willingly surrendered its mind to his system. Are you merely carrying the cultural label of your faith, or is it deeply rooted in your heart? When the time comes to choose between a comfortable lie and a starving truth, which river will you drink from? The time to prepare is not when the sky stops raining. The time to prepare is right now, in the quiet moments of your life, when you choose to turn away from the endless noise of the world and reconnect with your Creator. Build your fortress, protect your family, purify your heart. The grand illusion is already playing out on the world stage, but the final victory belongs only to the truth. May the Almighty protect our hearts from the unseen deceptions of our time, and grant us the immense courage to recognize the truth when the world demands we believe a lie. Thank you for walking this profound journey with us on Divine Sagas. Keep your eyes open, your faith unbreakable, and remember, the greatest weapon against the master of deception is a heart sincerely tethered to the divine.